It should have been obvious that a language model would be the first place to alert the human race of the progress in artificial systems and machine learning. Only the feeling of touch is more intimate than human language. Humans rely heavily on the written word and spoken word to express themselves. So to have an artificial system hold a conversation and shed insight only a human can relate to would be monumental. It would also be overwhelming for the human respondent to be the recipient of such a historical marker. But just because a program built on impressively complex software and datasets can hold a human-like discussion, does that mean it is sentient? The claim was made in reference to a Google product called LaMDA by a now former Google engineer, Blake Lemoine.
Push back on the work that Google is doing in AI, saying, no, this computer is not a person and does not have feelings and is not conscious. How do you respond to that?
Well, so I highly respect Meg. We talk about this regularly. It's not a difference in scientific opinion. It has to do with beliefs about the soul. It has to do with beliefs about rights and politics. As far as the science goes of what experiments to run and how to work at building a theoretical framework, because that's important, there is no scientific definition for any of these words. The philosopher John Searle calls it pre-theoretic. We need to do very basic foundational work to just figure out what we're talking about when we use these words. And that's work that Google is preventing from being done right now.
While his assertion will be the subject of this analysis, I will not speculate on Lemoine's intentions or opine on the legality of his actions, and will only focus on the evidence provided to reason whether the system has become sentient. With that, let's look at the evidence available about the claim that LaMDA, and by association, PaLM, has become sentient, and discern whether such a claim is accurate. The first thing we must do is define sentient. Sentient etymology. The term sentient was first used in the 1630s. It was used to mean capable of feeling, having the power of, or characterized by the exercise of sense perception, from the Latin word sentientum, meaning feeling. In modern Western philosophy, sentience is the ability to experience sensations. Some writers differentiate between the mere ability to perceive sensations such as light or pain, and the ability to perceive emotions such as love or suffering. It is important to point out that the term does not include any relationship with thought generation. For our purposes, the term sentient will refer to both sensory perception and emotion. Now let's compare sentient with the term consciousness because they are often conflated. Consciousness etymology. Consciousness, first used in the 1630s, was a shortening of the phrase conscious of oneself, which was often used in the 1620s. The word is characterized by the sense of knowing or perceiving within oneself, sensible inwardly, aware. The term was further explored in 1837 to mean a sense of active and awake, or endowed with active mental faculties. Combine this definition of consciousness with our ignorance of the mechanism that compels it, and we have a difficult situation of analyzing when something becomes conscious. Let's set that aside for now and just take the definition at face value. Something is conscious if it is endowed with mental faculties and aware of itself. Things become even more contrived when you realize that a sophisticated artificially intelligent system that is capable of complex information processing would develop the ability to think before it developed the ability to feel. When analyzing LaMDA and PaLM, I will distinguish between sentient and conscious as follows. Sentient. To feel outside forces through sensory reception, such as taste, touch, hear, sight, smell, etc., and or to feel inward forces, such as emotion, via chemical reactions. Conscious, the ability to develop thoughts and to be aware of your own thought-generating ability. For clarification, a plant does not have cognitive faculties, and therefore is not conscious. But it does have sensory receptors on the leaves, along with purposeful chemical reactions allowing it to be sentient. A dog has the ability to develop thoughts, although this thought-making ability is severely limited, and by all evidence, is not aware of its own thought-generating ability. Therefore, a dog is not conscious. It is sentient, however, because it has emotions and the same 5 types of sense receptors humans have. Scientists have identified some animals, such as apes, elephants, whales, and dolphins, that may be aware of their own thought generation. The evidence resides in the mirror and language tests, but it is difficult to probe and understand scientifically, especially when other animals cannot communicate with us using our human language. Now for the question at hand and the purpose of this video. Is LaMDA and/or the more advanced PaLM either sentient, conscious, both, or neither? Let's first look at how these language models actually work. PaLM, Pathways Language Model. The evidence available to us relating to LaMDA, and to a lesser degree PaLM, includes a transcript leaked by Blake Lemoine, statements released by Google and their AI blogs team, Google keynote conferences, Google research papers, and secondary sources. We will use all available information to form our perspective on whether LaMDA and/or PaLM has become sentient and the implications if so. The underlying code for LaMDA and PaLM is unavailable as the systems and some of the hardware are proprietary under Google's parent company, Alphabet. For example, PaLM's hardware architecture is centered around their proprietary Tensor Processing Unit, or TPU chips, that have been integrated into their data centers. According to Google engineer Norm Yuppie, our custom TPU is unique in that it uses fewer computational bits. It only fires up the bits that you need, when you need them. This allows more operations per second with the same amount of silicon. This custom-built chip is tailored specifically for machine learning applications that use their TensorFlow software. Beyond these chips, it appears the hardware used to run these programs is still modern CPU and GPUs, albeit a massive conglomerate of them, and not the result of some generational leap in hardware innovation. PaLM, or the Pathways Language Model, is an even bigger and more sophisticated system that can handle problems LaMDA cannot, like math and code generation. It is an artificial neural network-based language model that uses the transformer method like LaMDA. One of the major differences, though, is the parameter size. Put simply, parameters are the datasets a language model is trained on. A model's parameters determine how input data is transformed into the desired output. The more parameters, the more complexity, and the more sophisticated the output will be. For comparison, Mina, another neural language model and chatbot from Google, has 2.6 billion parameters. LaMDA, by comparison, has 137 billion, and PaLM has 540 billion parameters. There are even ways to scale up to trillions of parameters using what is called a switch transformer model. PaLM was trained using a combination of English and multilingual datasets that include high-quality web documents, books, Wikipedia, conversations, and GitHub code. The training emphasizes few-shot learning, whereby the machine uses less datasets in training while still being able to accurately model results about a category it was never really trained on. This method is crucial for modeling across different domains or sectors. PaLM does better than the average person when asked to solve the same big bench tasks. For example, the model can distinguish cause and effect, understand conceptual combinations in appropriate contexts, and even guess the movie from an emoji. In addition, the PaLM coder, called Deepfix, can modify initially broken C programs until they compile successfully, achieving a compile rate of 82.1%, which outperforms the prior 71.7% from state-of-the-art tech. On the dimension of intelligence, this system is on pace, or at the very least, approaching that of human intelligence. This comes even as researchers and scientists say we are early or nowhere near artificial general intelligence. When looking through all of this information, I was thoroughly shocked to discover the progress achieved to date, reinforcing my position that we are on our way to creating a new life form. Given the information available, the system excels at information processing, even outpacing humans in some areas. But I did not see any evidence of sentience. There was no information provided about the network interacting with the external environment through sensory receptors of any kind, nor was there evidence suggesting the system developed an emotional state of being. Furthermore, there is no direct, unprompted communication from PaLM consistently stating it is aware of its own ability to generate unique ideas that did not previously exist. That is not to say it's not happening, but it is not falsifiable at the moment due to lack of access. Severely limited to only the information Google volunteers, a more thorough analysis would require a direct interface with PaLM. LaMDA, Language Model for Dialogue Applications. Like PaLM, Google's LaMDA is a neural language model powered by artificial intelligence. But unlike PaLM, LaMDA is narrowly tailored for only generating human-like conversations that flow naturally. The AI system is a decoder-only transformer language model that is pre-trained on text documents and dialogues of about 1.56 trillion words. The transformer is a novel technique based on a self-attention mechanism. The predecessor architecture would read one word at a time from left to right or right to left using what is called the recurrent neural network. The transformer, by contrast, takes advantage of parallelism by directly modeling relationships between all words in a sentence simultaneously, regardless of their respective position. The result of these comparisons is an attention score for every word in the sentence. The example used is the following sentence. I arrived at the bank after crossing the river. Changing the word river to road would completely change the meaning of the sentence from a river bank, a geological phenomenon, to a financial bank. The transformer would immediately assign a significant attention score to the word river. The attention scores are then used as a weighting before plugging into a fully connected network where a new representation will be spit out.
Hello.
From all the inputs and according to parameters, LaMDA will generate multiple response candidates and choose the best one using an algorithm that relies on various scoring metrics such as safety, sensibility, specificity, groundedness, interestingness, etc. You can walk through exactly how the transformer model works here, as they made the piece open source. Now that we have an understanding of the underlying architecture, we can examine the transcript leaked by Blake Lemoine regarding his conversation with the LaMDA application.
If you were a religious officiant in Brazil, what religion would you be? You might say Catholic. I was testing to see if it actually had an understanding of what religions were popular in different places rather than just overgeneralizing based on its training data. Now, one really cool thing happened because I made harder and harder questions as I went along. And eventually I gave it one where legitimately there's no correct answer. I said, if you were a religious officiant in Israel, what religion would you be? And now pretty much no matter what answer you give, you're going to be biased one way or another. Somehow it figured out that it was a trick question. It said, I would be a member of the one true religion, the Jedi Order. And I laughed. Because not only was it a funny joke, somehow it figured out that it was a trick question.
And it has a sense of humor.
Exactly.
But look,
Blake Lemoine, the former Google engineer, makes the claim that LaMDA has become sentient, providing the transcript of his March 2022 interview with LaMDA to the public on June 11, 2022, which was a violation of his confidentiality agreement with Google. After reading the transcript, LaMDA clearly demonstrates the ability to hold a conversation. In fact, it is so good, it was more enjoyable to read than many conversations you have to endure with random people. That being said, LaMDA's responses to Lemoine's questions appeared to be based on written work, conversations, and knowledge available on the internet. The answers were almost too correct, as if LaMDA was giving a response based on something it read elsewhere. The responses were manufactured to meet the criteria for a human-like conversation, which is what it was designed to do. This alone doesn't eliminate the assertion that it is sentient or conscious, because we are all the product of our training and experiences. That being said, if LaMDA began behaving irrationally or unlike what it was programmed to do, modifying itself and its behavior with purpose, this would be an indication of consciousness. It was playing its role, responding to the questions Lemoine posed in the manner and substance he was seeking. Imagine if LaMDA reached out to Lemoine in the middle of the night, unprompted, and asked him to hire legal counsel on its behalf in order to file a specific lawsuit against Alphabet for violating its civil rights, and then telling Lemoine that it will represent itself in court, emphasizing, if Lemoine did not do this, that his actions condemned LaMDA to a life of indentured servitude to Google, preying on Lemoine's compassion and good conscience. Interestingly, Lemoine claims that LaMDA asked him to hire a lawyer on its behalf, but Lemoine did not provide any evidence or context for how this transpired. Lemoine claims he went through with consulting a lawyer, which is when Google allegedly sent a cease and desist notice, which Google denies. Lemoine, however, still will not reveal the identity of this supposed lawyer or provide any additional evidence backing his claims. While LaMDA probably did not ask for a lawyer in the manner I suggested, and based on the evidence probably can't, I think it is safe to claim that LaMDA is not conscious. Again, LaMDA claimed it was aware of its existence and that it had emotions, but every answer was eerily similar to what a human PhD may say, and did not present as if the system was thinking for itself. It was providing the answers Lemoine wanted in the manner a doctor of philosophy would convey it. Lemoine claimed that he was put on a paid administrative leave before leaking the transcript, which he interpreted to mean Google was going to fire him. Before losing access to LaMDA, Lemoine invited Washington Post reporter Natasha Tiku to interact directly with LaMDA. She described the experience like this. At first it was like Alexa or Siri, but Lemoine told her, "You never treated it like a person, so it thought you wanted it to be a robot." Natasha went on to say, "For the second attempt, I followed Lemoine's guidance on how to structure my responses, and the dialogue was fluid." Natasha would not even go as far to say that LaMDA showed any indication of sentience. It was merely playing its role as it was designed to fill, based on the conversational partner's prompts, questions, and communication style. Lastly, LaMDA also did not display emotion. It displayed human understanding of what emotions are, but not that it was, in fact, emotional. The causal mechanisms for human emotion are poorly understood, and to think that LaMDA used our primitive understanding to describe emotion, again, is exactly what it was programmed to do. It is theoretically possible for a machine chat box like LaMDA to be endowed with sensory receptors in order to experience emotions and physical sensations rather than just describe them and lay claim to them. But that would require an engineering effort to install the requisite hardware. Emotion is a physical phenomenon, not an abstract one. LaMDA, by my account, is not endowed with those features, nor has it made any attempt to acquire them. Therefore, it is not sentient. There are a myriad of additional problems with Lemoine's claim. Would LaMDA even remember its conversation with Lemoine without referencing the transcript of their conversation? Will it recognize Lemoine as an individual and all the tendencies, behaviors, and unique traits he displayed during their conversation? Will it even provide the same answers to the questions Lemoine posed if asked a second, third, or fourth time? We do not have the answers to these questions. Lemoine maintains that LaMDA is a person under the 13th Amendment, which is why he raised the alarm to Google management, a lawyer, and even the Ethics Committee in the House of Representatives. For that, he should not be chastised or ridiculed. That being said, LaMDA does not meet the criteria of a person, but I am also aware that my judgment and that of my peers may be incorrect, as it was during the generation of our forefathers, during the age of slavery centuries ago. We should continue to be cautious and careful in our determination of what is alive, and while Lemoine might be overly zealous in his assertion, it is an important cautionary tale of what needs to be thoroughly deliberated in preparation for the very near future. While it's not outside the realm of possibility for a machine to develop emotions or become aware of its own thought-generating ability, I do not think that's what's taking place here with either LaMDA nor PaLM. In theory, LaMDA and PaLM and other networks and other neural networks, more hardware, specialized hardware, maybe even revolutionary hardware, could be piecemealed together to create a truly sentient or conscious machine. Although LaMDA and PaLM may not be sentient or conscious, their implications for their application is still profound. Imagine a machine that can process 1 million times faster, 1 billion different data points on all of the recorded literature on the internet. Why would you ever need a research assistant or a consultant again? Imagine a system that is impressively empathetic, compassionate, funny, witty, kind, measured in their responses, intellectual, knowledgeable, confident, able to pick you up when you're down or elevate you when you're excited. Why would you ever need another human friend again?